Alrighty, can you guys hear me good? Just want to go ahead and get a quick mic check here. First comment I read, chill nano, please. I already did that. I posted on the subreddit. Nano's been doing great there over the past few days, making up a lot of the losses. I'm glad I didn't panic sell. Buy Nano and buy a banana. Alright guys, thank you all very much for hopping into the stream. Just thought I'd do a little casual live stream tonight. I know I've been relatively absent on content. We got a very interesting interview that I'm waiting to post. I should have that either tomorrow or the day after. Either way, I'll hop in the swing of doing daily updates and everything again. Just been a little bit busy. Yes, I know. It's been a little while since we did a DashCast. It's interesting. I'm going to probably have to change the name around back to late night live streams or something, because the DashCast is going to be used for our new podcast series. And I got a really cool figure for the first one. Interview went, well, I don't like to treat it like an interview. I like to just consider it like a chat, but went pretty well and stuff. I wish we could have done it for longer, but he was on a tight time schedule. So saying he might give you a hint, but then again, most people in the crypto space are guys. But let's see here. Alrighty. Sounds good. Awesome, guys. Thank you very much. I hope you guys like the new mic. This is one that I bought from my friend, ironically enough, Mike, back about a few weeks ago. But yeah, go ahead, guys. Leave stuff in chat. It's going to be definitely a very social live stream, seeing as we've got about an hour and stuff. Not too much going on in regards to news. I've been keeping an eye, obviously, on Nano. Nano's been one of the interesting players right now. It's finally cooling down. But that and Ontology were just ripping up to the upside. Again, this one's a momentum player, but the ones I'm watching at the moment, however, I'm watching to see if we're going to get any. Again, this would be if we get a full swing uptrend. Oh, we actually did get a bounce off Verge. I didn't see that. That's nice. This is trading on Bitfinex, so I probably should get it on a exchange with a little bit more volume. But, oops. But. Oh, I'm on Forex there. There we go. I've been doing a lot of research. That's going to be my main topic here. We'll talk about in just a minute. Is the commodities markets. But yeah, a little bit of a nice rebound the other day. We've been getting some like multi-million-dollar buy orders on some of these altcoins, and it's definitely been a level where I've started to get a little bit more optimistic. Bitcoin obviously has been holding. It's curving up a little bit. I'm not exactly confident yet until we get past the 50-day moving average right here around 6,900. If we get past 7,000, get past these two indicators, I think we're well on our way towards the 200-day, and very well we could get shot down like we have in the past. But again, coming back down to test this level at 6,000. Keeping an eye on the shorts as well. Shorts are still staying relatively high above our threshold here. Again, most times when the shorts have been up here, the two times that they have, doesn't go in their favor, but we will have to see. Longs are rolling over as well. Again, when it's again tended to be that the contrarian view is what tends to be right. So if longs are getting less confident, it's most likely going to be a good idea to go long, maybe in the short term. But again, you got to decide that for yourself. That's what I like to do. I like to go off the contrarian view. But anyways, going on here, guys, there's something I want to talk about here, and this is something, you know, I don't mean to say that you guys have homework to do, but if you guys want to kind of get out of all the noise in crypto and stop worrying about these these small price movements, there's really nothing big going on right now. I put out a tweet the other day, and I think this is a very, very important thing that we learn in the crypto community. And seeing as we got a few hundred of you on the live stream, I think you guys would definitely like to hear about it. There's a really big thing going on right now, and we've talked about it on the daily updates for those of you who like the traditional market analysis. And this plays into crypto, and it's the fact that a lot of emerging markets are experiencing currency crises. So this isn't just Venezuela, this is Argentina, Turkey. You also have countries in the Eurozones for some well-established currencies, like the euro. You have countries like Italy that are going through a very big set of issues right now. They had a big conflict with their election. The bond yields are going off the roof. So a lot of the economies that were either hit in 2008 or were considering emerging markets, even larger countries like China, are experiencing a devaluation of their dollar comparative to the US dollar and other currencies. So the Chinese yuan, all these other currencies as well are feeling the pain. And the thing I really wish the crypto community would really go towards is realizing this issue and trying to spread the word of crypto. And, oh, looks like we got X Chobo. Thank you very much. Appreciate for the subscription, man. Thoughts on Nano right now? Loving it. I mean, well, personally, I like Nano. Again, that's more in a fundamental sense. You can go read my recent post I did on the subreddit. Should be able to find it. I think it's still up there, but we got a lot, like 500 or 600 upvotes. But Nano's one of my favorite projects at the moment. And if I do have extra capital, I'm going to keep stacking. To me, it seems like it's going to be another Litecoin, like in the sense of a trading perspective. But I think it's going to go far beyond that if it keeps up the development that they have. I love the team, love what they've been able to do. The stress test the other day came out with results of around 750, I can't remember, up in the upper 700 transaction range. So again, not to the scale of 7,000, which is what I think any kind of DAG wants to shoot for as a payment solution, because that's what Visa and MasterCard tend to process. But we'll have to see if it can get there. Again, you can only test so much when you don't have enough participants. So... all right. But yeah, to summarize on what I was saying, guys, the chart we're looking at here, not to shy you away or overcomplicate things, is an emerging market foreign exchange volatility index. Okay, so this measures all of the emerging markets. So the ones we listed would be perfect examples, but it takes in all emerging market currencies, puts it into an index, and measures the volatility. And volatility is obviously what we talked about before. It's the movement in price in a certain time frame. So if price is moving more jittery, for example, maybe it's December where Bitcoin's rallying up to the highs, or it's January where it's dropping down dramatic levels, double digits. That's volatility, when price is moving frequently. And we can see here historically that emerging market currencies tend to peak out around 1.6 on the index. But the interesting thing is that in both of these cases, we see that the peak was after recessions. So we had, for example, after the dot-com era that burst back in the late 90s and early 2000s, we start to see emerging currencies spike up. Along with that as well, we have after 2008, we have the global financial crisis that led to this as well. Had a weight on emerging markets because they were very dependent on the growth of China and the United States producing commodities. That's how most countries get out of poverty to some degree, or at least grow their economies or grow GDP. And that led to a spike in the currencies in their volatility. Interesting thing, though, is that right now we haven't even dove into a global recession. In fact, supposedly we're in a global recovery right now, and emerging market currencies are at the same exact level they were at the global after the global financial crisis and after 9/11, the dot-com era, China, the World Trade Organization, and then also Lula, which has to do with Brazil. It's a long story, but anyways, the key important thing here to note is that we've been talking a little bit on the channel about potentially having a recession of some sort. Now, I'm not going to make it all doomsday. I'm not going to say it's going to happen tomorrow. Again, I've only switched to that position since 2018 personally. I think that this is where we need to start playing cautious when it comes to equities and the housing market. But we haven't had a hit yet, to be fair. Like, things are still relatively strong, at least on a valuation side. And what happens when those start to turn? What happens when we start to see, I'm not talking about collapse of the dollar, I'm talking about collapse in U.S. equities or the housing market, or even just stagnant growth, where we start to see things go down. What's that going to have an effect as on emerging markets, And all we've had so far, and they're attributing this to tax cuts and the trade war. And I think those do play a role because the trade war has left towards a devaluation in the Chinese yuan. And that's a major world currency, even though it's an emerging market. And then along with that as well, the tax cuts. So a lot of money has moved out of China. Obviously, that's money that they were hoping to keep invested in China due to the outdated tax law that was in place back a while ago that brought a lot of money back and repatriated a lot of dollars back to the U.S. But very interesting. I recommend you guys check into this. And also as well, try to see if there's any, I saw there were some movements with Dash and Nano with this, which is why I'm really big on Nano. The community actually reached out and helped out people in Venezuela. I know that, for example, David Hayes did some really cool stuff. But this is the moment that we should strike, guys, that we should show the world what cryptocurrencies can do. I mean, this is what crypto is built for. It's built to help countries like this. I'm not saying it in an opportunistic way. I'm saying it as, let's give them the tools that can actually help them take away the centralized control of central banks and financial institutions and actually have sound money that's not going to hyperinflate, that's not going to be corrupted in regards to its monetary policy by government officials. No matter if you believe, some people I know have talked about, for example, Venezuela, or they've talked about Turkey as a recent. And there's been conflicts between some people say, all these politicians, they're corrupt. Some of them say that the central banks of globalists have corrupted these countries. I don't care what it is. Either way, let's give them the tool that we know will work. Someone said, I put my life savings in Tether, just a matter of time till it moons. Well, comparative to, it's interesting. People joke about that and they say like, oh, I'm putting it in Tether, just wait till it moons. Interesting enough, though, and when we're talking about the world of foreign exchange and cryptocurrencies, and I like your profile pictures like Kim Jong-un. It is. John Smith, I like the name. But to your point, John Smith, which is really interesting, there's, in a sense, you can technically say that your value is going up over time. So if we are comparing it, for example, to the currency in Venezuela, or if we're considering the bolivar in Venezuela, or, for example, the Turkish lira, those currencies are getting devalued to a very steady pace comparative to the dollar. And in a sense, you're retaining your purchasing power. The dollar is getting stronger comparative to other currencies, and also commodities and many other things at the moment if you check the dollar index. So it's very interesting how people joke about that, but I always notice that. But it's a good point. It's funny how people joke about Tether. And Derek, the girls will be crying when they realize that most of the men going their own way hold most of the crypto. I'm no MGTOW guy. If guys want to go about being MGTOW, that's fine. I understand there is some things that need to be fixed in marriage law, so I'll make that 100% clear. But definitely hoping to still get married one day. Let's see. KB said everything is dead, which is why it's a great time to load up. I would say, yeah, things are still, in the grand scheme of things, they're very cheap compared to what they used to be. I'm not saying that's like it's time to buy. You have to decide that for yourself, guys. But if you look across the board here, now we're finally getting a little bit of a pullback, but the past 3 days were just like little altcoin rebounds. And it's those kickers, like when people feel absolutely blown out, they're just like, I can't take any more. It's gonna get worse and worse. I've got to sell. Literally at that moment, everything rebounds. Like, that's why you don't let emotions get over you, guys. I'm gonna say it time and time again. I'll be fair. One thing, as I've stated in the daily updates, and you guys know this, I've been a little bit off on calling the bottom of the market in the sense of like timing when we're going to see a rebound, but we haven't revisited real distant lows from 6,000. Like that's the target I've had for a while. Crypto Talk 37, thank you very much. Please comment on Holochain. Think it will moon. Crypto Talk, I've done a video on Holochain. Or actually, I didn't do a direct video on Holochain. I put it in one of my top 3 coin videos, and I haven't been doing those for a while. As much as I know there's a great amount of views and everything, I don't feel it's the right time just yet. I'll do it when we're in a bull market and there's some interesting projects. But towards Holochain, though, Holochain is really interesting. I like the agent-centric approach. And I think that it's, for example, I see EOS and all these, and even Ethereum and all these platforms or enterprise protocols that are claiming to do a certain amount of transactions per second. And they want to build applications on top of them. And if you're trying to build high throughput applications that are distributed or decentralized in some way, you're never going to do it on a blockchain. Like if one application needs 100,000 transactions per second, like let's say you built a social media application, that one application is going to eat up the mass majority of what EOS can produce, even if it learns to scale more. And then what happens after you're running 10 applications like that on a blockchain that can scale 1 million transactions? First off, it's not decentralized after that. And second off, you have to get to the point where you're asking, like, how can we expand this? And you can't. You have to go out and build another protocol. And if that relies on some form of proof of work, it's going to need the equivalent amount for the same security. So blockchains have an issue with scaling in a lot of ways. So I'm very excited to see different alternatives come up, like an agent-centric approach as what Holochain takes. And it was very interesting. I think they had a cool little video. You have to watch it a few times to really get it, but they explain how it works, and it's very fascinating. I love anything in regards to distributed systems, anything that takes away the central nature of things. Hey, Independent Alternative, thank you, man. Glad you could catch the live stream. I apologize, I didn't send out a message, guys, in the live stream. I should have done that, but I got a little caught up today. Conrad, yes, if I can make it, I'll come to your wedding, man. It's going to be in about a decade. Oh, geez, thinking ahead. I like it. Zachary, I think you're right. There is a lot of censorship with crypto, or at least they're not promoting it by any means. The Venezuelan government's been a perfect example of what you're saying about censoring crypto. They're not censoring it, but they've used their military power to retain control over crypto. So that's why everyone runs their miners underground. Frank says off on calling the bottom, Nick. Watch Perma Baritone. He is not shy on calling the bottom. Yeah, no, Tone's a great trader. I mean, he doesn't really care much for me. I've watched a few live streams where he's mentioned me, and he doesn't. We spoke on a panel together. I enjoyed my time with him. But yeah, he didn't really care too much about other YouTubers in the space, and that's fine. He's got high standards as a trader. And I'm no active trader by any means. Bip J, more thoughts on uranium. Actually, I'll check URA real quick. I mean, uranium markets, in my opinion, have bottomed. But the question here is, and we can see here, for example, URA, it's holding nicely on this support line here. But we've seen gold and silver break through their 2-year technical patterns. The question is, will uranium do the same? I did my video on uranium fever, still keeping up with the market. No big serious news since I talked about it. Uranium's a slower market. There's like big, huge events, and we covered a lot of those in the video I did, which is why I thought it was really interesting. If you haven't seen that, guys, definitely go back and watch that. I think that's a really, really cool video if you're interested for something outside of crypto. But I think it's a matter of getting a really solid breakout on of institutional volume, pressing the price of URA through here, and seeing some of the smaller miners rallying upwards, and also a spot price raise in uranium. But yeah, demand's kicking back up. It's a very fascinating industry, and you can see here, I mean, we've been through a multi-year bear market since 2011. I think you're really going to see it turn up into 2019 and 2020. That's when you're going to see uranium really have a nice rally, and that's going to be when I think equities will obviously be pulling back in commodities. Money's going to flow to commodities, I think. Voven Vid, thank you very much for the donation. Your thoughts on wax? Thanks. I don't know enough about wax to talk about it, man. I apologize. I've heard some people bring it up to me, and I'll definitely write it down real quick to see if I can look into it later. I can't guarantee, but I will definitely try to look into it, man. Appreciate it. Let's see here. Christopher, yeah, I see Skycoin as a legit project. There's some things I disagree with on how Skycoin's taken its approach. I don't know everything about Skycoin. I prefer Substratum, and oh god, here comes the substratum. The reason why I do is because I like a few of the variables that Substratum is doing over Skycoin. Personally, I want to eventually do a video where I actually compare the two, because people have been asking about that. And Skycoin's a great project, though. They've just taken much longer to get to where Substratum has been able to deliver on, in my opinion. Ashvaj, Hashgraph. I like Hashgraph. I went to the world's reveal for the Hedera Hashgraph, the open ledger with using Hashgraph's technology. Problem is that it's much more centralized. It relies on corporate governance, and not to mention the high throughput is a little overstated. Okay, it's a little overdone. It's not really. If you want to have really, really high throughput, like 1 million transactions, that's running off of like 1 or 2 nodes. Anyone can do that on like an Amazon Web Cloud server. Like, is there dates or talks of an ETF being confirmed or denied before the CBOE one? Dragon Ball, there's an entire list. If you look up like Bitcoin ETF list, you can probably find all of the submissions up to date. Bloomberg has a source of that. Glad to see you agree, Zach. So, Joseph wants me to do my Obama impression. Well, Joseph, I'm not in office anymore. So now I'm shilling cryptocurrencies. It's a lifestyle. I've got to find a way to keep kicking it. All right, a little bit. I'll do a little bit more impersonations later. I gotta get my voice set for it. My nose is a little stuffed up too. Let's see here. Henry, yeah, I've heard about Radix. I actually met the team, some of the team. They did a hackathon in the Lithuania conference, the unconference that Pillar hosted. Really, really interesting. One of my friends did really good in the hackathon. Lawrence, I think the EOS airdrop model is cool. I don't think it's the future of airdrops because the future of crowdfunding, because EOS had to raise a crap ton of money. And if EOS doesn't go well, I'm pretty sure no one's going to do that same model. And I think that airdrops are a great model in the sense of getting people interested and involved, but it becomes oversaturated, right? You know, you have to... I think it has to be for, like, with all these things. I think a lot of the corporate applications and these publicly distributed systems have become very cynical of the ICO space until it can be opened up to retail investors in the United States and the majority of retail investors, instead of just going to institutions like hedge funds and VCs. ICOs are never going to work. Like, that's the plain truth. Official thoughts on countries starting having an economic crisis. Is crypto the solution for all this? Mud TV, I believe that crypto will be when there's currency crises. And we're seeing that in emerging markets right now. And so I'm betting on that. But like, in a sense of, do I see any economies collapsing soon? You know, I'm very neutral. I come from a very cynical financial background where I'd be like, yes, it's going to, but again, people have been shouting that for years. Oh, real quick, Crypto Talk, thank you very much for the donation. Why the drop in ETH? Think it will reach all-time highs? No, I don't see it reaching all-time highs anytime soon unless you get another December. But ETH's just dipping like every other cryptocurrency, not to mention a lot of ICOs raised ETH. There's not much buying pressure, so because of that, there's a lot of sell side from all the ICOs that raised a crazy amount over the past few months. Voven, I can't answer that directly. For me personally, 50% of Neo for Ontology. I think Ontology is going to have more momentum if we start to get an upside of the market. We saw that the other day, but you're going to have to decide that for yourself. I do like momentum plays. I'll let you know about that. Like, I like to play on momentum trades, especially on bottoms like this, and then I can move into my more long-term plays. Crypto J, what do I think of Block Array? I love its founder. I miss Meridian. He's not in the chat much anymore. I hope he's doing okay. Coin Martian. Hey, Nick, stop by to say hello. Yeah, Coin Martian, I'll try to stop by sometime. I'm realizing how much back I'm in the chat. I did my Obama impression. Now I'm seeing all the comments. Thomas, up Ireland. I agree with you. I miss Ireland. I went there back in July. And I'm part Irish as well. Let's see here. Obama down. Impression upwards. Let's see here. Trying to catch up chat, guys. I apologize. BH, the reason I don't actively trade in crypto, it's not that I don't. I've been doing a little bit as the market started to bottom, and there's been some big momentum plays in altcoins. It just hasn't been the space to trade altcoins. Not to mention, I much rather would do swing trades at this point. So much less stress. Thoughts on Banano? I apologize. I can't read your name because it's in Chinese characters. But thoughts on Banano? I don't know about the cryptocurrency personally, but if it's another meme coin, there's always room in the crypto space. Pawn Capany donated 5. Thank you very much, Pawan. Appreciate it. See, if I do a Bill Clinton impersonation, like, it's not that good. Like, trust me, there's out of anyone in the world, I'd love to impersonate Bill Clinton. Not in his actions, but in his words, or in his voice and how he talks. Let's see real quick. Frank, Nick, your current too long did not read on sub. What makes them better than Elastos? Almost swapped my bag out for Nano and Icon, but held off because they seem to be delivering. You think they can come back? I don't know much about Elastos personally. So many people have been wanting me to look into it. I'm just, the thing you guys have to understand with me is I'm very heavy on the peer-to-peer digital currency plays. Like, that's my big focus. But I know Sub is great because I've actually been to the team. I've actually seen their office. They have millions of lines of code, a lot of it having to do with testing the program and everything, and they're getting to the point where they can actually not only break through the firewall in China, but they can actually relay pretty much any website to anyone in the world so long as they run a node. I think that's fascinating. I think the earning mechanism coming up soon is really exciting. You know, we'll have to see. We'll have to see if there's. I think the big worry that I have is if there's going to be enough sites wanting to host on the Substratum network and demanding the token. So we'll have to see that. It has to be competitive with the rates of traditional web hosters. I'll see if I can do the Bill Clinton one later. Arunke, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Adam Troy. That's funny. Let's see here. Cigar, yeah, I apologize. I've got some cool content that I worked on over the past 2 days coming up soon. Bay Area, Len. Dude, come to Bali. I can introduce you to friendly, pretty girls, and you can help my wrecked portfolio. So, for investment advice, I get pretty ladies. That sounds like a decent deal, but I'm not as easily swooned as most people. Let's see. Fernando, opinion, buying and holding long-term for profit. You talking about these levels, Fernando? It's just my opinion. Well, I can tell you what I've been doing because I'm always transparent with you guys. With crypto markets at the moment, I don't have much cash on side. I am still very heavily invested in crypto, but this is the moment where I'm starting to get optimistic on altcoins more specifically. You're seeing bottoms come across the market. For example, I'll run through some of them. XMR literally bounced off exactly what we talked about, guys. Look at this. How simple is this? Right here, right here, right here, right here. It's a support, a rising line of support and a rising line of resistance. I'm not saying XMR specifically. I'm just showing you guys some of these currencies. What was another one, for example? There was also Ethereum. Ethereum, another big one. Look at that. Pretty much came exactly. Obviously, buyers were all watching this, so sometimes you'll have it where you want to set your buy orders a little bit ahead of your technical line of support because everyone was obviously looking at this, and because of that, Ether had a nice bounce, and you could have made a nice trade on it. You know, that's one of the large caps as well. So that you can see, altcoins are getting much stronger at these levels. Darth Vader, I do not see XRP surpassing Bitcoin, and I'll tell you why. Ripple's technology, as an avid hater of banks, I gotta be honest, Ripple's technology, pretty exciting stuff. Much better than traditional payment systems right now, period. It's definitely getting to that point. That being realized, I do not believe the XRP token has much value at all. Like, there's some misconceptions about it that people FUD on XRP on, but at the same time, there are some genuine concerns as well. And it has to do with how they're created, the control over them, etc. Joel, let's say tomorrow Bitcoin becomes mass adopted. Should the price rise? Is there any correlation what it takes for Bitcoin to rise to $1 million a coin? Well, Joel, yeah, obviously you're going to have a higher price. For example, I'll give you a simple analogy. When back in 2011, when I first found out about Bitcoin, it was $3. Okay, there was a few financial nerds like myself, mostly libertarians, cypherpunks, alternatives to traditional finance, who were mining crypto on their laptops. That's why it was $3. No one really knew about it. Just started trading not too long before that. And now we live in a world where crypto is at a point where it's much, much more valued. Bitcoin's sitting at $6,000 to $8,000, at a given month, even after a bear market. And you have about a little less than 1% penetration on the global stage for adoption of cryptocurrencies, around 30 million, we assume 30 to 40 million. So obviously more people using it leads to higher valuations. And if Bitcoin is going to become the world reserve currency, that's going to make it go towards much higher levels. We don't know if it's not going to happen overnight. But I know that's hypothetical. I'm not meaning you're saying that, but there is a correlation though. There's Fundstrat. Tom Lee from Fundstrat he's the guy who's on CNBC all the time. He did a really interesting comparison. Fluffy Pony, yes, Derek, I agree. He rocks. He's a good guy. Watched a lot of his interviews. I think I watched his with Ivan not too long ago. Martin, I did see that video of Dash and what they were doing in Venezuela. It's cool to see some real shops like actually adopting it. They love accepting Dash. That's the cool thing. It's like that when you get passionate about, money. That's pretty cool. Like not just like, oh, I want to make money. Does Walton Chain have a cup and handle? What do you see? Let's see. Walton Chain BTC. Maybe on the hourly. Oh, I see what you're saying. No, I would not call this a cup and handle. Actually, no, sorry. Yeah, this could be very well a cup and handle. It came back up to the highs of resistance. Yeah, similar to a cup and handle here. And I like that it's resting on the 200 hour. All right, now let's see here, guys. I apologize if I can't get to all the comments. I agree, Adam Troy. It's slow steps. What do you think of Dash as peer-to-peer cash? Will evolution change the world? I don't know extensively about... Actually, I know a little bit on evolution. The thing is, I'm worried about Dash is... I don't agree with masternodes, and that might instantly turn off some people. I personally believe as a concept, it sounds great on paper, right? Like to have secondary... it's kind of like a secondary layer of trust, right? And you get extra features having a masternode. But masternodes, in a sense, drastically limit supply, and that currency isn't being used for anything, which is very worrisome in that sense, in my opinion, for a peer-to-peer digital currency. Dash is great. It made a lot of great evolutions. They definitely showed how to market a currency, but there's a few things I disagree with. I'd have to spend some more time talking about it. Thoughts on U-Network? Leonardo, I don't know much about U-Network. I apologize. I'll write that down to see if I can look into it. Let's see. Popcorn Lucas, I'm trying to learn how to be smarter. Gotta read, my friend. I think the big thing I would tell people, if you don't have to be a genius to get interested in this, I would say if you're interested in the financial world, go learn about the banking system. That's something that'll get your mind stimulated. That was the first big thing that and foreign policy were like my big things. James Walker, 5. 5 is a great number. 5 is a fantastic number, James. Oh. BG, thank you very much for subscribing, my friend. Leo, Nick, thoughts on Mana? The house price in the virtual world is crazy high. Leo, I'm curious if there's something going on. I met one of the developers in Boston, and he told me a lot of exciting things were going on. And I mean, I mentioned how like there was these massive buy orders of some of the virtual property. I have to see. It's a fascinating concept. I kind of laughed when someone told me about it, but then I thought about it for like an hour afterwards, and I was like, that's pretty neat. Like to actually have like a virtual world that has restricted real estate, But I feel like if a game came along and you could have unlimited worlds, it would kind of get rid of it. But maybe there's some value in having it almost artificially limited. Let's see here. Nadia, I think the market's I think most of the negative stigma has come in because I think most people have realized what they didn't beforehand, and that's that the SEC can push back the ETF. It's something that I tried to bring up and everything is, again, as much as I'm optimistic, I think you're going to probably hear about one by this year. It's going to probably be towards the later part of this year. Larzy, I found a new moving average indicator. I'm glad you brought this up. I used to talk about TIMA, which is my 3 moving average indicator, but it used exponential moving averages, EMAs. I use simple moving averages. So the way you can do this is if you type in, I think it's like if you type in 50, let's see, no. Type in MA. 100, there was one of the numbers, yeah, 50, 100, and 200 MA. I think it's this one right here. And interestingly, his name is Crypto Life 71, but it puts all 3 moving averages in one. So on my volume, I can still have my RSI as well as my comparisons over here. I still have room for one more index, I think. Let's see. Popcorn Lucas, do you watch the Real Housewives franchise? That's about where my intelligence level is. Popcorn, my mom was fascinated with that show, but no, I would never be caught dead watching the Real Housewives. Let's get back to the chat. No, I'm just kidding. Nick is not interested in a meme coin. I am interested in Dogecoin. No, just kidding. I think Dogecoin, it was so funny. My brother said something when crypto was just getting kind of bumped up back in like the summer of last year. And he was saying, he's like, Nick, I hope one day I'll be able to go into a store and buy something and they'll say, that'll be 500 Dogecoin, please. Like that would be, what a wonderful world when memes have taken off that mainstream and have become an actual worldwide currency. Atif, yeah, I think prices will take a negative hit if all the ETFs were to get rejected going into 2019. And that would lead us towards 4,000 probably. Just in a speculator's nature, not saying fundamentally Bitcoin needs an ETF. I think it's inevitable you're going to get one, but we'll have to see. Any news about Unibright ever since the presentation video? You haven't mentioned anymore. Something we should know. As debates, there's certain things I can't say. I'm working with the project still. Obviously, things have slowed down in the crypto space, but we're still working. The reason I don't talk about it extensively is because I don't want to be a shill, right? Like I'm an actual advisor, so I'm not just a pretty face on a website like most advisor roles. Like we actually try to work on business deals together, try to collaborate with actual corporate clients, hopefully get exchange listings. We work for these things, but I can't say anything at the moment in regards to specific details that we haven't announced. We've got the NIM partnership, which was really cool. We've also got one in the pipeline and stuff that obviously we've talked that we're going to announce about soon, but we'll have to see if that can come out just yet. We're working with protocols. We want to help these people actually be able to develop smart contracts on the platforms. Bass, I do not believe Bitcoin is going to dump, but I did see it dip off a little bit here on the hourly. That's interesting, but it's still holding, guys. Again, the big thing I always tell people, again, I remember a few days ago, everyone was in, if you're one of these people who believe it's going to 5K, I'm not saying you're silly for thinking this, because I think we could very well still see it, but everyone was just panicking the other day. Every single time we get to 6K, it's going to 5K, it's going to 4K. It's the thing that I hear every single time. And look at that. It's still holding. It's building a nice, smooth base. And what's nice is that it's building it over a longer term time frame, right? Now, people would say, oh, well, then that means it's not going up. But for a long-term uptrend, after having something like this, you need to have a steady base, because if you leave the station too soon, you're not building a steady base for the future. That's how markets work. And I think that's what happened if you go back, for example, if we take a look at the weekly, back here, Bitcoin wanted to start moving too quick, and it didn't build a base, and it continued lower. Then again, you had a lot of different things going. You had empty GOX and everything, so. But it's looking nice and healthy. I think you're, again, going to get up like a bump towards like 10 or 12,000 eventually here in the next few months, whether that's an ETF, whether that's backed or something that spurs it, maybe more emerging market currency crises that actually boost it up in a speculative nature as a hedge, maybe. So John, I think personally Nano's hit its bottom. We'll have to see if it can keep up the momentum, but I have to say I'm loving the chart here. It was 4 really awesome days. We rebounded off the lows and continued higher. And again, you need a cool down. I more than anything hope this comes down and holds on its either 100 or 200 day. We'll have to see if it can do that. My short-term target for Nano is like $5, and after that, we'll have to see. I think it's honestly in the next altcoin cycle, it's going to pull like a Litecoin in a sense of its market cap, and that would mean going towards much higher prices. Not to mention as well, there's not any more increase in supply. It's already all out there. Popcorn Lucas, yeah, we'll do some fun things here on the live stream, but yeah, definitely trying to see if I can answer some questions here for you guys. Thank you guys for staying on the stream as well. I'm glad to see we have almost 800 people on here. I'm all out of water. I came here to do a live stream and drink water, and I'm all out of water. Let's see, any updates on Substratum? Oscar, they've got tons of updates going through on Substratum, so you can go find probably much more info than probably what I'm up to date with. on their social media. Conscious vegan, 50K by the end of the year. Uh, man, you know, I'm going to be honest and fair. I don't reject my stance at the moment. Again, I think you could very well see all-time highs if you get backed with serious adoption at some major retailers. You have a continued emerging market crisis. If we start to actually see a drastic dip in equities, and if it is going to start dipping, it's going to start dipping quick, or an ETF. Like, there's a lot of great things going for speculative markets like crypto that can be seen as a hedge against traditional finance. It's at a discount, like, you know, maybe not 50K, but we could very well see a higher level. But, you know, again, just that prediction's based solely off of having some type of catalyst, predominantly an ETF. If we don't get that, probably don't see it happening this year. Boyer, I've heard that supposedly that MTGOX isn't going to be releasing anything until 2019, if I remember correctly. And they're not going to sell it on open exchanges. They're going to trade it OTC most likely. Meryl, that's an important point with DAGs. You can't really just fork DAGs. Like there's no way, for example, for Nano to have a disruption in consensus, right? It's either this person has the money, send the transaction, or no, this person doesn't. Or, for example, if you have a double transaction or someone tries to double spend, which one's the real one, you know? And I love how it can't be forked in that sense. People can't just make endless copies. They can take the source code and technically in software speak, fork it and build their own network, but it's not the same. Austin Kelly, do I think Charles will leave Cardano? No, I don't believe that. I don't really have a reason to believe it. Let's see here. Pawan, thoughts? Thank you very much for the donation, by the way. Thoughts on ETC price action for the next 3 to 12 months now that it's on Coinbase? I think most of the hype for these things, again, when retail traders come into the equation again, might be good for Ethereum Classic. Right now, though, what I see on the weekly is a head and shoulders. And I think, again, you had a lot of speculation, or at least we can see it on the Bitcoin comparative chart. Even as Bitcoin was going down, we had all these crazy run-ups off of Ethereum Classic coming onto Coinbase. And you can see it's on Coinbase now. Like okay, that's like, unless you have retail volume, which we don't have right now. Except for example, we can see that it's bottoming. So for example, we can go to Coinbase here. Take a look at the weekly. You can look at the volume trend. We're definitely, we've rebounded a little bit. We've got more back into a neutral zone of volume. But one, a lot of this could be arbitrage trading. And second off, it's not a serious turn up to the upside, right? We're just kind of back towards a neutral volume. We're not at the bottom where we were back in early to mid-June. So oh, and you watched my 5K subscription video. Thank you very much. I thought I had to play on Ty Lopez and stuff. I made that with my friends. Dub Hyper, I don't really flip out when I see that CoinMarketCap stated crypto's lost 10 billion, right? Because, you know, over the past few days we gained 30 billion, but that's still not that much in the grand scheme of things, because we're involving all these cryptos, many of which are still overvalued, and many will lose their entire valuation completely. But there's some great plays. I still think the peer-to-peer digital cash plays are the best, and a lot of that valuation and liquidity is going to move over towards that direction. Let's see. Thiago, I don't think Bitcoin Cash, it's not like, I don't think it's better than Bitcoin, especially at the moment. There's no need for the block increase that they have. But I get why the community has its specific viewpoint, right? I think you could easily raise blocks to 2 or 4 megabytes and not experience any disruption to decentralization, right? The miners who really matter in the case of the Bitcoin network will not be disrupted by the extra bandwidth concerns or the storage concerns in the ledger. Coinbase needed to offload the millions of Ethereum Classic they had on their hands. Yeah, maybe, Boyd. I don't know. Sometimes there's OTC markets for stuff like this, and then, again, they're not going to do it in one day, you know. But I didn't think about that. That's interesting. They probably do have a lot of Ethereum Classic. Hey, the Mobile Journal. I tried getting on Joe Rogan. I don't know if we can get Charles on. Maybe. Charles is an interesting guy, but I was hoping to come on to the... I've watched Joe Rogan for like, God, probably around 2 or 3 years. Like, I'll be honest, not actively. I used to watch him really actively, but my friend keeps keeping me up to date and stuff because he loves Joe's show. Fram D, sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. We did talk about Hollow earlier. I'm a big fan of Hollow, but I'll have to see if people see the value in its tech and it actually builds some killer apps. Let's see here. Sherry Vale says, Data, do you believe that because of the current shame or embarrassment that surrounds crypto currently hinders public interest or ability to get involved? Sherry, I'll use a good analogy here. The internet used to be seen as a tool for criminals, nerds, and people who wanted to watch pornography. Putting it blunt there, that's what the internet used to be seen as. Then it hit the S-curve of adoption, right? People start coming in. They start realizing, oh, wait a minute, this is actually a really cool tool. Hey, I found this funny video. Hey, I can send you email. Hey, we can socially interact on here. Oh, wait, now we have mobile phones that make it much more easier, and now we have the internet in our entire lives, and now we share cat videos. And it's the same with blockchain and cryptocurrencies. Crypto's going to become mainstream eventually one day, and the thing we're going to look back and laugh at was that, man, we thought, it's almost as if we thought that traditional currencies couldn't be used for criminal activities, that it couldn't be used for sex or pornography, or it couldn't be used for drugs. Criminals prefer cash. They don't use cryptocurrencies. They might use Monero, maybe privacy coins, but it's a question as to how private they really are, you know? So I hope that's a good answer to your question. Shane, I don't believe in masternodes that much personally. I don't think it's a solid mechanism. I think just having a weighted stake in the network is enough. Let's see here. Omar, thanks, Nick, for your amazing... Appreciate it, Omar, for the donation. Thanks, Nick, for your amazing work. I've learned so much from you. Keep up the good work and transparency. Omar, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Love reading stuff like that, guys. It's always it's a big privilege to hear that from you guys. Appreciate that you enjoy the content. Dragon, I'd like to see some corporate dApps. All we've got right now that are functioning dApps are literally Ponzi schemes, like, right? I'd like to see people, if we're really sold on this idea and dream, not things that demand high throughput, but things that actually are utilizing these protocols and their security. For example, maybe signing of contracts or multi-party approval, you know, things like that. Very simple but very valuable applications. Whale, thank you very much for your donation. Hey, Nick, I know it's annoying to ask again, but have you looked into Genesis Vision yet? Or released this in October? I did it a long time ago. Genesis Vision's been around for a little while. But I'll write it down to see if I can look into it. I appreciate the question and donation, man. I'll have to take a look at it. I've gotten a lot of people asking me about that over the past few months. Cali Coins, I can't mention what I think they're going to be announcing on the 28th, but I like Substratum personally as a project. It's one of my favorites. Nick, do you think the top 10 current coins are relatively safe investments and will be around 3 to 5 years from now? Well, I think Bitcoin will be around. If Ethereum gets Casper through, yes, I think it's got some time over the next 3 to 5 years. Bitcoin Cash, If everything doesn't go well with Bitmain, no, maybe. XRP, I think people are eventually going to realize that XRP doesn't really hold much in regards to Ripple's actual tech. It's just my opinion. Maybe I'm still missing something. I really wish if for the Bulls case, I wish instead of just like saying XRP to the moon, which obviously I bet it could moon again and you could trade it and stuff. Love to see the Bulls actually make a video as to why the XRP token is valuable and why I need to hold it. Like, I would love to see that. Again, not trying to hit on all you Bulls on XRP. I think trading wise, it's in a range that I feel much more comfortable trading. EOS, personally, unless they continue to do well with airdrops and actually funnel good projects and continue to scale towards millions and millions of transactions, I don't see EOS sticking around. But again, it's still a nice protocol. That's why I'm like, it's one of the best out there right now, outside of its pretty rugged launch. that's putting it lightly. Stellar, yeah, I like a lot of what Stellar's doing, but again, it's like Ripple, we'll have to see. Litecoin, yeah, I think Litecoin's going to be seen as digital silver, much like Bitcoin's seen as digital gold, so I think it's going to stick around. Tether, that's a tough one. It depends if they actually eventually build some form of transparent way of showing that they actually have the cash behind it. If not, I think Tether's going to be replaced by True USD. Cardano, yes, I think Cardano's a long-term project, but they're going to really have to work towards scaling and building up some serious partnerships. Monero, I think Monero's going to still be around. All right, let's see here. Aaron, yes, I think that's a perfect analogy. Do you think that Goldbug's attitude towards Bitcoin is similar to Bitcoin maximalist attitude towards altcoins? You want to know why that is? I think anyone in their right minds can agree that a lot of altcoins are crappy. They're forks off of Bitcoin. Many of them are ICOs that have no serious application or business use case. And because of that, I can understand criticism of altcoins. But being completely separate from altcoins is very, very similar in the sense of Bitcoin maximalism as it is to gold bugs on crypto. And you want to know why? Where do you have your money? Oh, I just happen to have it in Bitcoin. I'm a maximalist. Oh, okay. So you don't actually own any altcoins. You see, like, I see it on Twitter all the time. Like, people are so quick and hostile to shut off the other side because they have a weighted stake in it. They have a business in it. So when I talk to, like, Peter Schiff, for example, love Peter. Like, one of my favorite guys in traditional markets because he calls it as it is. He talks about fundamentals. And I wish Wall Street was run by people who value fundamentals, but they don't. And even though I could probably disagree on one or two things about things with Peter Schiff, the fact of the matter is, though, is I don't think he hates Bitcoin. The company he runs accepts Bitcoin for gold. Okay, like I think he doesn't really believe it's going down to zero. Like if that was the case, he'd be taking like the Venezuelan currency right now. If he was cool with taking something that might go to zero. And this goes to my point. People have a business in things, right? I'm someone, at least I'm very neutral. I love crypto, and I think it, as of now, as an emerging currency market, it's got so much more potential for growth. But at the same time, I think precious metals are going to do great over the next few years personally. And I think that equities are overextended. I have opinions on things off a factual basis. And I might hold equities in the future, and I might or may not hold commodities, but that's not going to get in the way of me in my statements, right? Most people don't stand in a fundamental sense. They just want to shill their own stuff, so hopefully that makes sense. Atif, no, I have not bought my NEM position, and I hope it hasn't gone up too much. Oh, no, still hanging down relatively low. Yeah, I'm keeping an eye on it. This is the region where we've seen historically, if you take a look at that Bitcoin comparative, let's take a look historically. Look at that. That's the range right there. We've had both exponential run-ups. So have to be patient, see if we get something. All right, guys, we'll take a few more questions here, close it off at 8 p.m. on the East Coast. And as always, again, after we hop off the live stream, make sure to join the Discord, guys, so you guys can talk with the community. Adam Troy, have a great night, man. Take care. Let's see here. I'm trying to catch up. Yeah, Fat Boy, it's going to take people time to realize the separation between XRP and Tether, or not Tether, XRP and Ripple. Shotgun long Tether. Okay, I think, again, people don't realize the demand that the ETF is going to set for Bitcoin, right? That's the big reason why it's, and also just the buzz that it's going to bring. Let's see. James, I'm sorry I didn't see your comment here. Nick, great job. Interested in your view on BTC log scale channel since 2009. Yeah, a lot of people have talked about this. So I'll have to get the right exchange here. Let's see here. I think we could do, if I'm thinking of the oldest exchanges, we could do, would Bitstamp be one? Yeah, Bitstamp, perfect. Yeah, I've talked about the channel and everything that Bitcoin's been in for quite some time. But I think, might come down to support. I think to keep to the bottom of the channel would be quite a dramatic drop for Bitcoin, in my opinion. But we'll have to see. Maybe it might. Line support here. It's pretty much calling for Bitcoin to come down to like $2,000-$3,000. I don't see that happening. Aaron, I like that. Peter Schiff fears Bitcoin and Bitcoin Maximus fears. I don't think Peter really fears it. He said he wants to get a piece of it and stuff. That's why he said he accepts it. He doesn't want to miss out on it. He thinks it'll keep going up, but he doesn't believe it has any long-term value. Sherry Vales, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Oh, from Belfast. All right. Cool, man. Yeah, no, I spent most of my time in Limerick and Dublin when I'm in Ireland, but I want to go explore a few different areas. I think we got one more donation that I might have missed, but I want to answer some other questions. Backed. PyCon, what's going on? I should have noticed the profile picture. Yeah, I'm excited for Backed. I know you and I have talked about that a little bit. I think that Backed, over the next few months, if we can get some massive retail stores accepting it, is going to be really fascinating. I think that's going to get a lot of people interested, at least toying around in cryptocurrency. And if you can get that retail spike of interest again, plus an ETF, you're looking at probably 40 to 50K on Bitcoin. That's what I would guess, but just an opinion. Nick, you can only have one coin. Which one do you pick? Well, I like peer-to-peer digital currency. Lightning, as of yet, isn't around. So I want a currency that's scalable and still relatively secure. I would say either between... Stick with Bitcoin. Bitcoin, Nano, or... I would say, again, peer-to-peer digital currency is my favorite, as much as there might be some that I hold that aren't peer-to-peer digital currencies. And I'm going to try to keep ones that are, that I don't have any bias for. I would probably say some form of currencies that utilize zero-knowledge proofs. Something that allows it to be private, have an untraceable history. Jib K, I think this is a good question. I talked about this in my daily update, but you asked, what do you think about Andreas' negative view on the Bitcoin ETF? He brought up a very interesting point, and this is why, again, he actually, out of all the people who are railing on the idea of a Bitcoin ETF, some people started to get really negative about it as the market was going on. They're like, why are we relying on an ETF? I thought Andreas brought up the actual one concern that an ETF might bring, and that is the centralized control of a group entity, a set of entities managing this exchange traded fund and being able to dictate over those Bitcoins. But I want to say something. First off, it's not enough to completely overchange the protocol, right? Even if you had 1 million Bitcoin, not enough. Second off, most of these ETFs are literally getting Bitcoin from a select few miners, all right? Like they're getting it OTC if they're going to be filling these ETFs. There was already very heavily centrally controlled ownership of these Bitcoin. Like it's not changing much of anything in that sense. If you really understand it on the market side, like I can tell you when I analyze OTC markets, I see that it's big swaps from massive miners, either early stage people who were mining it since day one in 2009 and 2010, or if it's either one of the larger mining operations in China. Like, I can't name names, can't specify who and how much, but it's big swaps. So I don't think that he's, I have neutral feelings on it. I don't think you really want it that much Bitcoin in the hand of a select fund, but at the same time, I don't think it's going to centralize Bitcoin. I don't think it's going to centralize the decision-making process or disrupt the Bitcoin network. If those investors, for example, let's say you have a fork off, for example, and a split in the currency. If they opt to, for example, work with a different form of Bitcoin, non-private Bitcoin or something like that, the investors behind that ETF would be absolutely furious because you're going to see the market price of that ETF drop 20% because it's pegged to a different currency now. So that's my current feel on it. I don't think it's really much of a threat. Liliji, and Nick, I noticed on ETH Genesis address sold 100K ETH in the last 5 days. Thoughts? Is ETH facing huge fundamental problems? No, it might be funding development. That's a lot of ETH to sell, but I would be curious as to why if they're really just trying to make money, why they sold so late. They would have probably sold at the highs or near the highs. Walius Islam Zihan. Thoughts on ADA currently in terms of TA, short term and long term? Short term and long term, I think ADA is at a level where I'd feel comfortable, but again, building support on previous resistance, cutting down the parabolic run up. That's exactly what you need for a long term cycle. But a lot of altcoins are in the exact same position, Walil. So I wouldn't just specify ADA in that sense. I like altcoins generally at the moment. Hope that helps. All right, one last. We got another. Okay, check log 2009 6K bottom, wave 5 100,000. Yeah, James, I think 100,000 is easily possible for Bitcoin in the future, with especially in 2020 with the block reward halving and difficulty going up. Moonshine Fuel. Yeah, I like Nano a lot. Nano's one of my big plays at the moment. As the price has really gone down, it's been drastically oversold, and because it got a big rebound. I think it will be a big gainer. I think it's going to probably go to $5 or $10, and then after that, we're going to get a pullback, and then altcoin cycle could really test towards some high levels, especially as they just had their recent scalability test. Monday, man. I'm in mostly alts right now at the moment, so hopefully that gives you some kind of perspective. I believe we're going to get a nice rebound on alts, whether or not we get a full bull market coming up. I think with BACT and the ETF coming up, there's some exciting things, but patience is key. James Walker, that's true. You will have to factor in MTGOX data to actually get. That's obviously one of the earliest exchanges for Bitcoin. All right, everyone. I think I'm going to call it a night for the live stream. Thank you for over 800 of you sticking around continuously. I think we had more than that, people come in and out. Appreciate you guys staying on live stream. Before you head out, if you guys want to keep talking crypto, you guys want to meet some people, ask questions, get some opinions, definitely type in !Discord into the chat, all one word, !Discord, and you guys can hop into the Data-Discord. I might hop in there for a little bit, but outside of that, guys, again, !Discord, hop in the Discord. Outside of that, love you guys. Hope you guys have a safe rest of the night and safe rest of the weekend. I hope you guys get to take it easy, take a breather. Hope you don't get too worked up in crypto markets. And I'll be back in the swing of things with the daily update and possibly the first episode of our new podcast series tomorrow. So that being realized, hope you all have a wonderful night, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Stay tuned. I'm signing out now, so you can stop watching. Just kidding. Take care, guys.